J right in your face.
Welcome back to the Faedaway podcast, off-season edition, baby. I haven't said that in a minute.
It's been a while.
It's been less than a year because we were fortunate enough to have 2 back-to-back NBA seasons. But nonetheless, it's been a minute. Welcome to the NBA off-season, brother. You got your host. I forgot how to intro the show.
Yeah, legit.
You got your host, Fetty. You got your host, Zaid. We're here with the Balls Life Podcast Network. PK in the back. Man, we took a little bit of a vacation.
Took a week off, and you're flustered.
We took a bit of a vacation. I forgot because we actually did Christina's interview a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
We had to keep that in the clip because with the NBA season and everything. Man, shout out to Christina.
Shout out to Christina, man.
Shout out to Christina Mora. Shout out to the whole Mora family. I feel like
They reposted it.
a lot of love that day.
It's
always nice to see the family support, and she did talk about the role her parents played, her brother played in her development, and I think her brother plays in prep as well.
Yep.
So shout out to the fans. I hope she has a huge year.
Yeah.
In our time off, we got a chance to go away.
Yeah. Nice.
Got away for a weekend during the long weekend. PK was there.
Yeah.
Handful of other people were there.
18
Yeah.
people were there.
No, because of COVID.
Well, I think you're allowed 18 people now.
Oh, yeah. So 18
don't
people,
worry,
18 people were there. No, but, it was a good time. What did you think? It's no all-inclusive, but it was getting away, and it was nice to be away.
At this point, any trip for multiple nights is a trip, is a getaway.
Mm-hmm.
So it was dope. Whether it wasn't on our side for the 2 full days, the only 2 full days that we were there, but
I think it was the only 2 days in all of July and August that were under 20 degrees.
Yeah, and exactly. It was cold, but we managed to take advantage in the morning of the pool. Lots of food, lots of food,
tons of food.
Oven was always running. That was the pretty much the theme of that trip. It never stops. But it was a good getaway, man. It was good. Obviously NBA free agency was going on during that time, and transactions were being reported.
The NBA draft happened.
NBA draft happened before it, right? So a couple of exciting things there. So it was a getaway, but it was still busy keeping up with all the moves and the trades and the deals that were happening.
We actually had a morning where we woke up at 6 in the morning one day because Egypt was playing Brazil in the Olympics, but Team USA
was playing at 8.
It was at that point it was a quote unquote elimination game with the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
They obviously went on
to win the gold,
and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, man, a lot of stuff has happened, and it's kind of been weird because we sat and we're like, how do we do this? Because there's been a crap ton of transactions. Like, I think we ended up deciding we're going to do Eastern Conference in this episode and then drop another episode with the Western Conference just because it's a lot to combine, and we want to make sure we capture the whole picture. I guess first things first, we have a lot of Raptors things to discuss because our franchise has definitely changed in the last couple weeks. So first things first, let's start light. We brought back the big boss.
Huge.
Boss man. I'd like to say that
that's not light. That's huge.
I was incorrect about my assumption that he would end up in the African League.
I think someday. I think that's an option for someday. That's a good assumption for someday. But yeah, he became VP,
vice chairman,
president. Yeah, so a fat title. I don't no details of his deal were disclosed or leaked or anything like that. I'm gonna assume there's some sort of ownership in there. That's he's pretty much reached the pinnacle of.
He's vice chairman of MLSE, not the Raptors.
Yeah,
MLSE.
Exactly. So you've pretty much reached the pinnacle of that of your career at that point. How much further can you go?
And he's not. Is he even 40? He's probably 40, but he's not 50. He's definitely not 50.
He definitely looks young.
Very accomplished guy.
Very accomplished guy. Deserves it. As much as I think he's very hands off now and he lets Bobby do a lot of the work, I do think his influence.
He was in the war room, bro.
He's always in the war room. I like how involved he remains. We see the pictures of him hugging the draft pick, number 4 pick that the Raptors picked, which we'll get into shortly. But that's a huge deal, man. Not only does it, for the foreseeable future, the Raptors are going to continue to improve. Another team is not going to improve. And I think that's something that people often overlook is if he went somewhere else, that team was going to become a contender. that team was going to improve. That team was going to develop. And now the Raptors don't have to worry about that. So I think it's a big deal.
Big win for the Raptors.
Big win for the Raptors. Congratulations to Masai. He deserves it. I was on the train of give him whatever the hell he wants. We need him here.
Honestly, he went radio silent for a bit. I even may have convinced myself that, you know what?
It's okay.
Bobby became his 2.0.
Yeah.
We're going to be just fine without him.
Yeah.
And you forget, like, I brought this question up in Hoops Rant, the forum that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Hoops Rant guys. I know a few of them listen, but I posed the question. I said, Raps fans, how do you feel about Masai coming back? Because on the one hand, and I'll pose this question to you, because on the one hand, you get the continuity. Mm-hmm. You know, you see what he did. Mm-hmm. He brought us to championship in about 7-8 years, transformed the franchise.
Yep.
But it hasn't really fixed the sole issue that I think the Raptors face, and that is free agency. He hasn't really done anything in terms of bringing in a marquee free agent,
right,
or kept a free agent.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little sad. We couldn't even keep PJ Tucker. You know, like, it came down to that, and we were at that point.
His loss, though.
I get it, but at that point, it's like we were on the brink. So it's like, what more can be done, should be done, because you have the winning culture, you have the continuity. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, in terms of business endorsement opportunities, I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but you know what? Somebody brought up a good point, but I'll say that later. I just want to know what you think. Like, all that said, are you still excited because you see the plus side of it, or do you want to see a little bit of action? Because I'm trying to get my heart shaken on July 1st. July 1st is the date for free agency.
Man, there's only like 5 or 6 teams in the league that have the luxury of being free agent destinations. When you really look at it, you look at all these other teams. All these teams that are maybe smaller markets. I get Toronto is a bigger market, but once again, it's not the States. It's a bigger market because they've got all of Canada. There's a lot of money there. There's a lot of media here. It's a country's team. But once again, it's not the States. American players aren't going to look here, aren't going to say, oh, Toronto's first on my list. It's very rare that a player who hasn't been in Toronto is going to want to come to Toronto. We know the stories of every player who gets drafted here, every player who gets traded here. They end up falling in love with the city. They end up making it becomes home, whatever. But American players are just not going to come here. You got the LAs, the Miamis, the New Yorks. That's
pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. That's your 5 to 6 teams that are actually free agent destinations. So, Masai,
even New York, like, they really have to win.
Exactly.
Because you remember a few years they couldn't get KD, couldn't get Kyrie.
At all. Exactly. So, I think New York. I think the Knicks are in recent years are going to become much more of a free agent
I don't know. They had a pretty New York Knicks-esque offseason.
Just wait for it. But yeah, I mean, Masai is working against everything. No, there's only, like I said, 5 to 6 teams that are free agent destinations. So what he's been able to do from a draft perspective, from a scouting perspective, from a trade perspective, that's how the Raptors have to win. Have to build a championship team. That's the only way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely great to have him back for sure. Another thing in the Raptors, end of an era. Let's. I think you should kick this one off because
you think so.
You deserve it. I don't deserve it. I definitely don't deserve it.
Well, listen,
I don't deserve the farewell.
We all know. Listen, thank you, Kyle Lowry, for your years of service. You helped bring a championship team to Toronto, to Canada. You redefined the whole franchise. Your imprint is on this franchise. They want to retire his jersey first. He deserves a statue. He deserves a whole bunch of things. He is. It's not arguable that he's the greatest Raptor of all time. We know that. We know what he's done. We know the impact. We thank him for that. As Raptors fans, we're appreciative of that, and we're going to honor that regardless. That he has left a lasting mark on this franchise. Mm-hmm. However, am I happy he's gone? Absolutely. When he's commanding 3 years, $90 million, $30 million a year,
which he got,
it's gonna strap a young and developing team like the Raptors. And the way that the Raptors are going right now is not with Lowry, mm-hmm. and it's the perfect timing for Lowry to hand off the keys to Freddie, Pascal, OG.
Yeah,
he's groomed them. I think this last year was really great for their, to groom them to be the leaders and new vets on this team. And the Raptors are just going in a different direction. Before any Lowry stan calls you and I a hater or whatever, it's just eras come to an end. It's what happens in sports.
I was trying to explain this to my parents yesterday because my dad's like, if they love him so much, then why did they let him go? And I'm just like trying to explain it to them.
And
Things just end.
It was a mutual parting. Signing via sign and trade. We got we got kind of a solid piece back in that deal. But I mean, there's no doubt what Kyle Lowry's done for the franchise. But it's time for the Raptors to go in a new direction. And I love that it ended this way, ended peacefully. There's still love from Raptors fans, and
vice versa.
Let's get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, man, I echo everything you said. Thanks, Kyle, for everything you've done. Obviously, changing the culture of basketball in the city of Toronto, making the Raptors, important, something that people want to watch.
Yeah,
I do think that he should have released the apology a little sooner. I mean, the farewell, not apology.
A couple days later, 2 days later.
What I didn't personally like was that he addressed the Miami Heat fans.
Did he? Oh,
before saying farewell Toronto, he said, "What up, Miami?" And
he got his money though. That's why.
I was like, my man, like you're a little too excited
to leave. You're a
little too.
Hey, that's before I started calling up. That's another thing Lowry fans need to understand is he's hyped to go to Miami. Yeah. He didn't want to stay here, so understand that as well.
Yeah, man. I watched a little bit of the presser, his first presser in Miami, and the first reporter was like, "Welcome, Kyle." I was like, "Thanks, man. How are you?" Like, since when do players ask the media, how are you? Unless you really want to be there. No, I'm just playing. I think it's look, from a basketball perspective, there's no question. I think this could be a good transition right into talking about Miami and what they've done in the off season.
Let's stay on the Raptors, then we'll jump to Miami.
But I think from a basketball standpoint, it makes all the sense financially. It makes all the sense, but. He's in Miami, bro.
Yeah,
he's not in Milwaukee. He's in Miami.
He also had a trial run in Florida. He's
in
lived
Tampa.
in Florida for a year now.
Did you know that Jimmy Butler, I guess Jimmy Butler is his son's godfather, or the other way around?
They're really close.
Somebody, one of them is the other's kid's godfather.
A lot closer than a lot of people know. This fit in Miami is perfect. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about the pieces the Raptors got back in this sign and trade. We got Goran Dragic, who has voiced his opinion about the Raptors and him not wanting to be here.
I have no issue with that opinion.
I know you have no issue with that opinion. Nope. I don't necessarily have an issue with that opinion, but his higher hopes is for Dallas. And we argued about this earlier today. Right. Dallas is not a contender.
Right when
they're not a championship contender.
Right when I saw the quote where it says something about I have higher ambitions.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way a guy who speaks this language as a second language.
This is his. What
he said this in English. And what happened? The report comes out.
Yeah.
He said it on Slovenian TV.
Yeah, in Slovenia.
I guarantee you, it was lost in translation.
Sure.
I guarantee the main message of what he's trying to say is what we all should understand.
He wants to,
and it's the reason why we traded Kyle Lowry.
Right.
He's 35, Goran Dragic. He's not young.
Old at 36.
He's trying to make finals runs or at least enjoy where he's playing. You don't think Dallas is a contender? Sure, they're not the Lakers, but they're contending. Like in the locker room, in the front office, their mindset is we want to make the playoffs and we want to push and we want to win. So that's what they're going for. They're not going to play a 19-year-old to start, and Malachi Flynn gonna all these guys. It's a project. The Raptors are a year of it's still a project. Yeah. So Precious is a much better fit. I'm very happy that we ended up getting Precious in return.
Deal. Yes.
And I think it could be one of the very sleeper picks because they have Bam, so you didn't really get to see much of Precious, and they ended up getting Deadman in the middle of the season, who played a lot of minutes too. But man, I think it was lost in translation. The guy he should not be here. We should ship him.
We should absolutely.
There are definitely teams that'll give up players for him.
Yeah,
and Dallas really needs him, and they really need another ball handler really badly. That's what it comes down to.
Let's not focus too much on Goran just because we know he's probably going to be shipped at some point. I think the addition of Precious is a big addition, and now even seeing the summer league roster, we've got the Raptors got a lot of young and exciting guys. A lot of young, lanky guys. A lot of guys who can play multiple positions. I like to see where Precious fits in. Now you got Precious, you got Kem Birch, you got Freddie Gillespie. They signed the Egyptian guy.
Anas Mahmoud.
Yeah, they signed Mahmoud to the 905 team. So you got a legit 7-footer there who can maybe get called up and get some run with the Raptors. So adding Precious to the mix really is going to make a lot of players a lot better and going to make them perform a lot better. As long as we got a good young piece back in return, I think that's all that really matters. for the Raptors and his development. And now, obviously, the Raptors drafted Scotty Barnes at number 4, who looks great. Is still not very polished. I think still has a lot of work to do, obviously. But his feel for the game, his athleticism, his length, his size, his hands.
Brought back Kemi.
Yeah. He looks.
Shout out to him, bro. Kem Birch.
Yeah.
But I saw some wild reports out here that were like,
oh, right.
Apparently there were suitors around the league, and someone wanted to give him, or 3 teams wanted to give him $18 million a year. I'm sorry, man.
If there was a team that wanted to give him $18 million,
Jared Allen got 20 a year. Kem Birch, you're not getting that.
Yeah,
you're not getting 18, bro.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, man. There's no.
But
way.
the Raptors look young and exciting, man. It's nice that we've got those veteran guys like OG, Pascal, and Freddie. But then we're looking for these kind of next generation level players. Where you got the Malachis, you got the Utahs, you got Scotty Barnes, you got Banton they got drafted by the Raptors from Rexdale, the first
Precious
pick. We got first pick from Toronto or from Canada, I think. You got Precious
Rexdale.
as well. You got Precious as well. So you got a lot of guys who can develop and be guys who fill in the spots and play key roles for this team. I know you have a stat a report, which is unreal. I saw this too, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it was just a listing of a few players. Chris Boucher, 6'9", wingspan 7'4". Pascal Siakam, 6'9", wingspan 7'3". Scotty Barnes, 6'9", wingspan 7'3". Precious Achiuwa, 6'8", wingspan 7'2". OG Anunoby, 6'7", wingspan 7'2". Kem Birch, 6'9", wingspan 7'1", and Delano Banton, our Rexdale pick, is a 6'9" point guard.
Yeah,
who's not on this list. So Bobby addressed this because they were asked what is happening, and he's like I think you can see that the way that the league is moving, the way basketball is moving. He's like, if we could have all 5 guys look like Pascal, we want to do that, and that's what it comes down to. And then your guards, you have Fred VanVleet and Malachi Flynn, 2 smaller guards. And I'll say this: Malachi Flynn, 23 points, first game in the summer league. I liked what I saw from Flynn last year. I think he has the confidence. I think he just needs a chance. And that's why we were saying, like, why bring back Kyle? Why keep Dragic? Why even keep Dragic? We have this kid. There's no way you're gonna treat everyone else as a project and then Malachi's gonna have to be ready or he loses his role. Like it doesn't. I don't think that
when
works.
Malachi is confident, he plays really well, and obviously in the summer league, he is the leader of that team. He's that feature guy of that team, and he's confident. And he played really, really well. That confidence needs to translate to NBA level basketball. When he is confident, he plays better. When you kind of sense him hesitating, doubting himself, he tends to fall off a little bit. But to your point, exactly. Kyle Lowry, I think if you were to bring him back, it would, and it
wouldn't make sense.
It would kind of cripple a lot of the development of a lot of these young guys. You mentioned earlier in the year, Fred VanVleet sometimes even defers to Lowry. Other guys defer to Lowry, which I agree with. So it just, in order to move forward, you gotta let him go.
Yeah.
And obviously he went to a place that's great too.
Also, like, think about it this way, man. Like, even in your everyday job, like if you want to move up and you're ready for that next step, but your manager just refuses to leave their role or move up in their role, you're never going to be able to grow. No matter how much autonomy they give you, if you're not in that role, you're never going to be able to embrace that role 100%. Yep. So I think guys like Pascal, guys like Fred, guys like OG are going to take that next step. Because you absolutely have to,
right? Or
you're just not going to be that guy anymore. And B, you're older now. You're those guys. You've been around, and everyone else is a young kid looking up at you, and
you got to lead.
You know what, though? I love the confidence on the young guys that we got. Even Delano for a 47th, 46th pick.
Yeah.
He's got confidence. Scotty Barnes thinks he could be the best player in the league. Malachi Flynn thinks he deserves the ball every possession, and I love it.
The young bench unit that the Raptors are going to have this year, I think, is going to be great because, number one, anybody can steal minutes on any given night. And it's going to force a lot of guys to play a lot better than they really should or than they really can. The competition is stiff at the wings, at the 3 and 4 position.
They're all 3s and 4s.
They're all 3s and 4s. Freddie Gillespie can play the 4. Kem Birch can go down and play the 4. Pascal's going to play the 4. You got Chris Boucher playing the 4. Scotty Barnes.
OG.
You've got a bunch of guys playing those wing positions, and it's going to require everybody to be on their A game at all time.
We didn't talk about Gary Trent.
Gary Trent re-signed as well, right?
3 year. Yo, okay,
18
so
a year?
that's a good conversation to have because he's getting 18 a year.
Yes.
Norm is getting 18 a year.
Yes.
They're like, oh, we got rid of Norm to save
18.
some money. 2 points here.
Yes.
One guy got 53 mil and one guy got 90 mil. PK, I don't have a calculator. Is 53 half of 90? Almost.
Well, we'll say we'll give or take a few bucks.
Kiro did not use a calculator on that one. He's almost getting double. Norman Powell is.
Yeah.
Double the money.
Longer term too.
Is 3 years half of 5 years?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Pretty
right?
much. We're there.
Pretty
yeah,
much. And I want to say the last year is probably a player option because it's Gary Trent.
Yeah.
So let's say 3 years versus 5. I now have a 22-year-old who I locked in for 3 years versus a 28-year-old that just signed a 5-year deal for $90 million. I want to see what the last 3 years of that contract looks like because the first 2 years might look really nice.
Yeah.
Even then, I mean, Portland, I think that's a terrible move for them, and we'll talk about that next episode. But I would love to see what Norman's last 3 years of that 5-year deal look like. Heck, last 2 years. I think there's going to be a very hard contract to trade at 31 when all he does is what he does now. I don't think there's much more to it, and I don't know, man. I'm personally happy with it. I think we got to steal.
Oh yeah.
What's your take on that?
I mean, nothing I say is gonna be new. Gary Trent, I think, could be much more versatile. Has a higher ceiling than Norm does. Even if he does end up being the same player Norm is, you still got younger, and a lot of people fail to realize that you got younger. You paid the same amount of money, but you locked him down for lesser years, which is perfect because in 3 years, guess what? Who's a free agent? Scotty Barnes. If he develops and becomes a star player, you can just let Gary Trent walk.
That's the scary part of having a team like this.
It's very scary.
Because all of them get paid at the same time.
But at the same, but I mean, I think the only player that the Raptors have, a young player that has star potential, is Scotty Barnes, and in 3 years he's going to be up for a renewal. Perfect timing. The Gary Trent deal is legit. You know, Masai doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah,
Bobby they don't make mistakes. They know exactly what they're doing. So if anyone's questioning or doubting that deal, Norman Powell versus Gary Trent, there's literally no doubt that the Raptors won that deal.
No, I'm with you 100%. And they get it's both 18 a year, but one guy's 3 years, one guy's 5.
So less of a commitment, like and you're committing to a younger player who can do more for you
for less time. Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer, but I mean, look, it's hard to see a guy that you drafted and developed in-house grow and become the guy that Norm has become, and I get it, but I mean, I also just don't get it at the same time. So, last thing I want to do before we move off the Raptors, I want to just leave off with a prediction. Lowry signed 3 years with the Heat. I think he's doing a year and a half with Miami.
Are you gonna ship him, or
I don't think the stint is gonna work, and Pat Riley is a tough guy. Maybe he'll do 2 years. I think they'll buy him out
in the third. I mean,
you're going to join the Raptors.
You're committing a 3-year, $90 million contract to a 35-year-old about to turn 36.
He really has 1 year, in my opinion.
I
1
think,
year of this.
I think he's got one year of $30 million basketball.
Yeah.
Play in him. People want to say he doesn't rely on his athleticism, doesn't rely on whatever. He does rely on putting his body on the line, and as you age, as you get older, it takes longer for you to recover. Injuries are going to be more severe, and we saw that this year more than ever. Lowry was, injury-ridden a whole bunch. Whether it was rest or actual injury, we don't know. But obviously, I don't wish injury upon him. But a player who plays as aggressive as he does, it's definitely something to question and something to keep in mind. That being said, let's move on to the Miami Heat. We'll keep it in the West, in the Eastern Conference. Sorry, Miami Heat acquire Kyle Lowry in a sign and trade. They also keep Victor Oladipo on a veteran men prove-it deal. Oladipo's coming off of ACL injury. A severe injury. I know that.
Quad. It was quad surgery. It was the second quad surgery. Yeah.
So they keep they keep Oladipo technically.
We should
Kyle Lowry.
Probably also remind people that he turned down 2 max extensions.
Tough. Bet on yourself.
What he did is
unfortunate, man.
He signed to prove it, like you said, so he can hopefully hit free agency again next summer. But
yeah,
boys and girls, Dennis Schroeder also declined to Supermax. Who's the other guy? Nerlens Noel, another big one.
Yeah. So it happens. Hey, it happens. As much as better yourself sometimes works. There also is a bad side of it. They also bring in PJ Tucker from the championship Milwaukee Bucks. Signed a 2-year deal.
He got iced.
You think so?
Well, he said it, and he wrote a caption. He wanted to go back to Milwaukee, and they cheaped out. They're like, "No, we're good."
Good decision by Milwaukee.
Thanks for your service.
Good decision by Milwaukee.
Yeah, because he did not provide them much offensively, and also Miami ended up losing what's his name, Trevor Ariza to the Lakers.
Yes.
So that's a pretty good backup option, I guess.
As well as Andre Iguodala, who didn't really pan out in Miami, just kind of stole their money and went back to the Warriors. But
he kind of did what D-Wade did the little tour and then ended up going back.
But most of all, the biggest deal, I mean, actually, it depends how you look at it, but they re-signed Duncan Robinson to $18 million a year. Wow. 18 million.
90 mil, 5 years. Largest contract by an undrafted player in NBA history.
Wow.
For a guy who doesn't attempt a shot inside the three.
Crazy.
He's
true.
6'7", 6'8", sniper.
Yeah. I mean, they made Miami looks really good
on paper,
and yeah. I think people are overlooking that they're still a big piece away from being.
Oh, they also re-upped Jimmy on a max, 4-year, 185.
Yeah, they re-upped Jimmy on a max. They're still a big piece away from a championship team. I personally don't think this team, as constructed, can make the finals yet.
Would they be the big piece? Would it be who they expect? Who they expect Tyler Hero to be? Could that be what they're missing?
I think Tyler Hero took a huge step back this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he becomes a big piece.
I think this was his rookie year.
This was
the bubble and everything.
However, I know Tyler Hero can ball. I know he's got a lot of game in him. I know he's a good player. I know he's a good offensive threat. You bring in Kyle Lowry, he's getting some touches. You bring back Duncan Robinson on a big deal.
Yeah.
He's getting some touches. You bring in Jimmy Butler on a max extension. Guess what? He's getting some touches.
Bam
Adebayo. You got to feed him a little bit. Guess what?
Mm-hmm. And you got Vic coming back.
On a prove-it deal. He's going to shoot when he gets the ball. He's not going to give it. So how much room is there really for Tyler Hero to grow into that big piece? Not much. So I think he becomes the sixth man on this team.
So my counter to you then is, how much room do they have for another player to help them win?
I don't think they have,
because I don't think that they have any cap room. I think as constructed, you're right, they could be missing a piece. Because come playoff time, we're looking at what Kyle Lowry, Jimmy, Vic, Duncan, and Bam.
It's a good team, man. It's a good team.
And then what? PJ on the bench.
PJ off the bench.
Or does PJ
Tyler
start
Hero?
over Duncan? There's no way Duncan makes 90 mil.
He's
coming off the bench for PJ Tucker.
PJ off the bench. Tyler Hero off the bench. They lost Precious Achiuwa for a backup center, backup forward that they needed.
They lost Kendrick Nunn.
Lost Kendrick Nunn as well. I just don't. I think they're going to be a really good team, a really good regular season team, especially. I don't see them. I think they can sneak into the conference final. I don't see them making the finals, just because the competition is too high, and
it's going to have to depend a lot on Jimmy and Bam, because they also took a huge step back last year, especially in the playoffs. And so if those two guys aren't giving you what they should be giving you, then what are we even talking about here?
Miami doesn't have a top 10 player in the league. They don't.
Yeah,
I can name 10 players better than all these guys. And
their best player is Jimmy, and he's top 20 at best.
There you go. And when it comes to playoff basketball, when it comes to championship basketball, you need a guy who's top 10 in the league. Every team in the last decade who's won.
The Lakers have 3 of them.
Exactly. So, it's going to be very tough for me to see them go to the finals. I think they're going to be a good regular season team, but I think their ceiling is a conference final for them. I don't see that panning out.
Let's talk about their first round matchup, the team that swept them, the team that ended up winning the championship team, the Milwaukee Bucks. Sometimes you don't need to do much after winning a championship, especially when your whole core is there. You got Drew, Giannis, and Chris for the next few years, so your core is not going anywhere. But I thought that these guys had a pretty nice offseason. I'll tell you why. They brought back Bobby Portis. I like it.
Instead of PJ, which I think was a great choice.
Yep.
Great choice there.
They brought back Bobby Portis.
2-year, $9 million.
I think they retained George Hill, which is fine. But they brought in Rodney Hood, which I like. I like that move. I think there's a lot of potential with that move. He doesn't need to be anything. He needs to just come off the bench, give him a couple buckets.
No pressure there.
They got Semi Ojeleye from the Celtics, who showed signs. He wasn't great, but he showed signs of being a Raptor killer. I guess I don't want to admit it, but
he can be an impact player.
Yeah, decent. Where I think the pendulum swings, my friend. These guys picked up Grayson Allen from the Memphis Grizzlies. Grayson Allen, they just let him go for absolute nothing. This guy had a fantastic year last year. he had nights where he was giving Memphis 30 points. And this is with Jaw on the team,
Yeah.
with Dylan Brooks on the team. He's an exceptional defender.
Yeah.
He's got good size. I think Milwaukee hit it out of the park with Grayson Allen because when you think about they lost Dante DiVincenzo in the playoffs
To injury
in the second round. That was tough. They needed a guy like that. Obviously, they ended up getting through it, but I think he's good. What was his percentage from 3 last year?
And that's exactly what I was looking at right away. He shot 39.1%.
That's incredible.
From 3.
That's incredible.
Shot 41% from the field. You don't really need him to do much other than defend and shoot 3.
Exactly. Which is why, and he's young.
Very young, yes.
Which is why I think this is such a no-brainer move. Like, you make such a small move like that, and it can help your team. Just that depth, that's all you need at that point is the depth, and you just increase your depth. And I love it, man. I think it was a great addition. I think that puts them, I wouldn't say above anybody, but I think it definitely helps them a lot. Because the thing about the league this year is it's hard. I couldn't tell you at this point.
It gives them another good perimeter defender, which I think is key because Pat Connaughton oftentimes, maybe not oftentimes, but in key moments, would find himself in foul trouble, and they wouldn't really have another guy off the bench to kind of fill in for Pat Connaughton. Pat pretty much has the same numbers as Grayson did last year. So you really compare them; they're kind of both the same player. You get 2 of those guys. You get 2 guys who are aggressive, and now they can be ultra aggressive because you have both of them on your team now. They didn't. When you have a championship team like theirs, you don't really need to do much. You just need to keep your guys and fill in the roles. And I think they did just that. Do they make the finals again this year? Depends on health of all teams in the Eastern Conference.
They really got lucky this year, so
who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But they did have a sneakily good offseason.
Just a quiet but very effective offseason.
Exactly.
Had it not been for one man's gargantuan size feet,
yes,
the Milwaukee Bucks would not have even made the finals.
Yeah.
That man is named KD, Kevin Durant, USA gold medalist, but forward for the Brooklyn Nets, who had a little splash, I want to say, in the offseason.
A great splash, man.
You want to walk us through some of the moves that these guys did?
So
I love them.
I'm going to go with the lot. They lost Jeff Green, which I do think is going to be a pretty big loss for them.
I think they recovered it.
They recovered it, but I know Jeff Green, I think his attitude, they love him on that team.
Uncle Jeff.
Uncle Jeff, he's the kind of that glue guy on that team. So having him missing from the locker room, I think is going to be tough. He oftentimes carried them when nobody else was really performing. None of the role players were performing, especially when they were down to just KD pretty much playing, and obviously a hobbled James Harden. So I do think that's a big loss there. But the collection of guys they brought in or brought back, I think definitely makes up. The biggest splash is bringing in Patty Mills on. I don't know the deal.
$12.5 million over like 2 years
over a couple of years.
They got him for a steal.
It's going to be very interesting to see Patty Mills on this team. I'm very intrigued. I'm intrigued to see him play alongside James Harden and Kyrie Irving. I think that team has got a lot more unguardable. Patty's a bucket, bro.
He's amazing.
Patty
he had 42 against the States.
Patty in international basketball.
Yeah, they brought him in $12 million 2 years. He's making $6 million a year. Patty
for chips, man. I thought he was in. I didn't think he was going to go to the Lakers. I think that's is a great fit for him. He's just going to be that next guy up who's going to just kill you. And he's a great playmaker. He doesn't need to score, doesn't have an ego. But when you need him to shoot and you need him to take over a game, he'll do it, right? Clutch. I think he's amongst there.
Stretches the floor. He's super athletic, man.
Great.
Which is so funny because he's come a long way from, now that we say he's athletic.
He's come a long way from being
he used to be
the
fat guy on
stock.
The waving the towel,
man. Yeah, so he's come a long way. They also brought back Blake Griffin. They brought in DeAndre Bembry, who I love personally.
Yeah.
James Johnson they brought in.
I love the James Johnson pickup, man. That's a good Jeff Green replacement.
Both him and Bembry and James Johnson, I think, are great replacements.
Yeah, and it gives you more depth.
More size, more toughness, defense, which they really need because their offense is very top heavy and very loaded. And they also brought back Bruce Brown Jr., who proved that he can play and give them really good minutes. Mm-hmm. This team healthy makes the finals.
They win the chip, no question. Yeah, I think James Harden. I really want to see him come back this year with some sort of like more fitness.
Yeah, he's at fashion week, little baby, bro.
Especially as he's getting older, like See, the hamstring injury, like that stuff is scary because there's nothing you could do about that, and that's a very annoying injury.
Yeah.
So I mean, they really need him to be in tip-top shape. Across the street, though, across the bridge, the New York Knicks, who are finally back in relevancy. I was all year I kept saying the New York Knicks are going to have a huge summer because I think, winning basketball back in New York, you're in the Mecca.
It helps.
It helps, right? It helps attract people. While I don't love the offseason that they had, I think that they still made a couple really good moves.
They remained relevant. And for Knicks, that's what you need right now.
We'll talk about the splash later. I have one written in here that shouldn't be in here. Reggie Bullock actually left the Knicks. So that is my fault. He did leave the Knicks. He's with Dallas now. Shout out to Luka Doncic. This kid's about to have a career year, 50, 40, 90, one more. But let's talk about Derrick Rose, who they brought back on a $43 million deal, 3 years. And let's talk about Nerlens Noel, who they brought back on a $32 million deal
That's a lot of
3
money.
years. 3 years, $32 million deal. For Nerlens freaking Noel.
For Derrick Rose, I understand it. I think Derrick Rose is
I don't get it, man.
$14 million a year for Derrick Rose.
You have Emmanuel Quickly. You have R.J. Barrett. Who cares? You just brought in Kemba Walker.
Now that deal ends up being
Got me spoiling the
awful.
Got me spoiling the splashes.
At that time,
What does this mean?
Before they brought in Kemba Walker, that Derrick Rose was like, yeah, you know what? He plays a key role for that team. $14 million a year isn't that bad. 3 years, whatever.
Bro,
you swallow
it's bad. It's bad when you don't have a team and you need to build. Because we went into this offseason saying, okay, the Knicks made the playoffs, had the 4 seed. Okay, first round exit. They need to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You re-up Derrick Rose and Nerlens Noel? Why?
Not only that. Evan Fournier.
I like that one.
$18 million a year?
I like that move.
You're gonna pay him Gary Trent, Norman Powell?
And I think he got 5 years or 4 years. He got 4 years. It was a 4-year, $72 million deal.
$18 million, bro. He disappears.
But that is a tradable contract. It's a tradable contract. I think it's got a team option at the end of it. It's a 3-year with a team option. It's $18 a year for a guy who can score, and he just had a good Olympics. Who knows? He might. Look, for what it's worth, he went to the Boston Celtics, caught COVID instantly, didn't really ever hit the rotation, and we know for a fact the Boston Celtics are dysfunctional. We saw everything that happened after the coach is now the GM. The GM is gone. Yeah, they had players walk out left, right, and center. Yeah. The culture isn't good. Marcus Smart this, Kyrie that. So I'm not going to hold that against them. And then before that was Steve Clifford and the Magic? They don't even want to win.
I'm not convinced on the Fournier deal. However, what I will say about the Fournier, the Derrick Rose, the Nerlens Noel deal is that they're all tradable contracts.
Yes.
And so when you look at from that lens to say these guys could be pieces in big trades.
Exactly.
It's not as bad. It's not time to panic just yet. They can all be used as viable trading tools, but the biggest deal obviously is Kemba Walker. Bringing Kemba Walker in, I think, is a large deal. Kemba Walker back at home. I think he's from New York. Mm-hmm. Back at the Garden where he's got that
pretty much for free, eh?
You put it free over here, so yeah.
It was a $2 million because what happened was he got bought out, right? So you can't take more than money. Whatever the differences are from the buyout and what your contract is.
So
right?
I think
out to George Habib for the info.
I think that keeps them exciting. I think they still have a pretty relevant team to make be the 6, 7, 8 seed in the East. Obviously, they still have Julius Randle. However, I do think honestly, personally. We talk about them not being free agent destinations. The way things are going in New Orleans, I'm not going to be surprised if Zion ends up in New York. And
bro, I'll tell you after.
And the way New Orleans, what the hell they're doing? I don't know what they're doing over there. And then Zion's already.
I can't wait to talk about the West.
He's already expressed his interest in playing for New York. I don't be surprised if those rumors come around.
There's reports that Zion might be the first person in NBA history to turn down the rookie extension. They're like he might just sign the qualifying. I don't think so because his health, we know.
know.
I think if they come with a super max extension, it's
They're
going to
not
be one of
gonna
those
see-
like sign it and figure it out later kind of thing.
Sign up, force me out.
But buddy, if Zion says I'm not taking this extension,
Wow.
and then that's when you come in and
Fire
you say
these
we'll
guys.
give you D Rose, we'll give you Fournier, we'll give you
We'll trade him. Exactly.
this and that, and it works out.
So don't be surprised. The way things are going over there, I hope to see him in a Knicks uniform. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, interesting, man. I don't know what the heck is going on in the city of New Orleans, but
That's next week's episode.
nonetheless, let's move on to another team. Which team do you want to talk about?
Chicago,
There's a
man.
handful.
I'm excited to talk
I
about
was gonna
Chicago.
say let's leave that one to
the end.
like Chicago, Washington. I think we should end with those two because those I think were two really big ones. We can just quickly skim because I think one thing to note with Atlanta, we said that we talked about this. Their agenda should have been bring back John Collins on a max,
fat deal,
which they did on
He didn't get a max.
125. Or whatever.
Technically not a max. He held out for a few days because he believed he was a max, but came around and
125
deal.
mil. Shout out to him. Congratulations on getting the
you
bag.
got it. You turned down a $90 million deal. You got 30, 35 more. Come on.
Which never ever happens, but it happened for him. And
Yeah.
the second thing and the most important thing was Nate McMillan. You got to bring him back. And so they did on a $4 million deal. They re-upped Lou Will on a 1-year $5.
Oh, nice. Keep him.
So
there.
I
like
think
that.
keep the team the same. They're very young. I think with all the health issues they had last year, you got another year of Trae Young is a year older. You got Kevin Huerter a year older. DeAndre Hunter a year older. Cam Reddish a year older. All these kids that were studs a year older. You still got your big man, what's his name, Capella. You got John Collins now. Like the team is good. And Trae Young, how much did he get paid? 100.
5 years, $207 million deal is what it's set to be. I think Doncic is also set to get that
Exact same amount.
Which
Which is crazy, right? You trade one for one, and they always compare, and at the end of the day, both are taking almost 207 mil
exactly
over 5 years.
So yeah, they did what they had to do. They're still going to remain relevant once again. Do I think they have another Cinderella run in them? I don't think they'll go as far as they did this year.
Yeah.
But they're making all the right moves. They're taking care of their guys, which we don't always see. And you know, is Atlanta a small market? It's a medium market.
Atlanta's
I would
a pretty
it's a
small
pretty
market.
yeah,
I'd say.
I would say it's a medium market. It's a big city. So they took care of the guys. They got done what they needed to get done.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they
go for
need to
them.
add anybody. I think they just need to get a little older and get good experience.
Yeah.
One big move I think Charlotte did. Well, they made a couple really sneakily good moves, but they don't. Also, another team with a lot of youth.
Yes.
That doesn't really need to get better. They extended their coach James Borrega, huge. They got rid of Devontae Graham, and they ended up getting a first in exchange.
Yes.
And you know who they picked up?
Poubre.
Kelly Oubre, baby. I think Kelly Oubre playing with LaMelo Ball and those young guns, athletic as hell. Those guys are going to run the crap out of the gym.
I think it helps them out a lot. I think it helps them play
Big
defense, gets them some toughness. I think, it's
going to help him too.
We saw their performance at the end of the last season, and we were just really disappointed that nobody held them accountable. Really, they had nobody. They just acted like they didn't want to be there. And I think Kelly Oubre is that guy who can leave the guys accountable. Can really instill some toughness into the young guys. My biggest excitement for the Charlotte for the Hornets, they signed Leandro Ball to the summer league deal, and he's on the summer league team, and he balled out that first game. You love to see it. I love that he's getting a chance. I love that he's proving himself. I love that he's playing well. I hope he makes it to the NBA roster. So we'll definitely keep our eyes on that one as well.
Yeah, for sure. I put Boston here, but they actually did nothing, which is hilarious to me. I think.
Did we talk about them changing? Legit? Did we talk about them changing
coaches? I think we did.
Whatever. Did we?
I can't remember, honestly.
Whack. All whack. All in all, whack. Awful.
Well, it's panning out. It's panning out. They haven't done anything.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is a team that needs a lot of moves, has no moves, and honestly, I love to see it. So I don't care too much to focus on Boston, but wow, Brad Stevens showing his true colors out here.
Yo.
Jared Allen signed $100 million deal. $100 million over 5 years for a guy who doesn't shoot, who doesn't really do anything outside of block shots and play big man, which is, you're telling me he's Rudy Gobert money? I guess not half. He's half Rudy Gobert's money. But the thing is, like, outside of Rudy Gobert, every center makes like 10 mil. So I don't know how much he's worth. If he's worth the 20, it's a lot of money for a guy who doesn't shoot I think a team like Cleveland too, where you don't even know what your court are you shopping Sexton or are you not? Are you?
Garland.
What's your vision? What are you doing? And then you bring this guy in on $100 million. Good for him. He took his money. I don't know what they're doing. He's a nice player, but he's definitely not $100 million. I would have loved to see him on the Raptors at some capacity, but $100 million
not going to happen now.
Is a joke to me.
I don't know if he was a restricted free agent. I assume he was. I don't think they had to have made a big deal like this. I think they could have gotten away with giving
His
him
agent
12
is
to
the
15.
GOAT.
His agent is the GOAT. Sometimes that's how it works out.
Yeah.
Nothing to say from the Cavs' perspective. They're the Cavs. But congratulations to Jared Allen for getting the money.
Yeah.
Shmoneys, man.
Last thing before we get into the two big ones. Philly really didn't do anything other than pick up this guy, Andre Drummond, which made absolutely no sense to me.
Bro.
1 year deal. Sounds like a prove-it deal again. I don't know. Maybe his value just
diminished
completely because he's taking $2.4 million while other centers like Nerlens Noel got a $32 million deal. And I don't know. Weird stuff. I don't know what that fit is going to look like. These guys hate each other or have hated each other on the court, him and Joel Embiid.
The meme or the video of them meeting is hilarious. He looks the least impressed.
Yeah.
They bring back Danny Green on 2 years, $20 million. Also get Georges Niang on a 2 year, 6.7. They didn't really make any deals to get better.
No.
Ben Simmons has been seen shooting with his left hand still. Shooting with Rondo, which I'm not sure if that's the person you want to shoot with.
Rondo's gotten better.
He's gotten better, but you want to shoot with some elite guys to really get you better.
Yep.
Apparently he's went radio silent on the Sixers, though he hasn't responded to messages or whatever.
Yep.
So the Sixers look like they're kind of trending downwards. So we'll see who takes their spot, I guess, in the Eastern Conference. But let's go on to the big deals or the big splashes in the Eastern Conference or the bigger splashes.
Yeah.
The Washington Wizards, hey.
I love it.
They got better.
I love to see it.
They got better. They shipped Russell
somehow,
Westbrook.
some way, Russell Westbrook keeps finessing the league every summer.
Yeah.
This is the third straight year.
He gets shipped to Los Angeles, and in return, they receive Montrezl Harrell, KCP, and Kyle Kuzma.
Buddy.
Those are pieces, man. Those are pieces to make your team better.
Those three are pieces.
Those are pieces to make your team better. Kyle Kuzma now, I think, better situation for him.
Oh, no question.
Allows him to kind of spread his wings a bit more. He only has Bradley Beal to really deal with.
Rui Hachimura, bro. Don't sleep. He's a young. They're pretty much the exact same role.
Exactly.
Like their mindset right now is, this is my prove it. Russ is gone. Rui's thinking Russ is gone. This is my chance.
Yeah.
This dude, Kyle's thinking I'm out of LA. So between those two, who do you think wins it? Wins the battle? Do they both get it? Do they somehow play both of them?
Yeah, I think they can both play 3 and the 4. You put Bradley at the 5. Bradley at the 2.
Davis Bertans makes $90 million.
Bertans. They signed Bertans.
90.
Yeah.
They have a lot of guys,
They got
bro.
a lot of guys.
But, this is a good issue because last year you had no guys.
Now that you got
and you got Thomas Bryant coming back from injury, which is a nice player.
And you got Montrezl Harrell, who can play the 5, small ball 5. You got KCP now, who
but
can
they also have
stretch the
Daniel
floor.
Gafford, who played really well for them at the center. So, they have a lot of things to focus on.
Right.
New coach, Wes Unseld Jr., but this team is undoubtedly 10 times better than when they had Russ.
Yeah.
And they got better by getting rid of Russ.
Yes.
How many times have we seen that? OKC, maybe they didn't get better, but they definitely positioned themselves for that. They got Shea.
Yeah.
Then I think that was more Paul, but whatever. Houston. Who do they got? John Wall. Maybe
not
nobody.
working out well
That was
for
a bad
them.
theory.
It
It was a bad theory.
But they did make a splash signing Spencer Dinwiddie to an $18 million
That's my favorite
deal.
part, bro.
And that is a
Are you
huge
kidding? Him
deal.
and so Spence and Brad are boys. KCP and Brad are boys. Brad Beal.
Okay, yeah.
Buddy. If you give Brad
Buddy.
some friends, like Brad hated his team and put up 30 last year.
Yeah.
If you give Brad some friends, sheesh. And I respect that guy immensely, bro. He could have left. He could have demanded a trade.
Should have left, too. Should have left.
And he did not do such thing.
Man, they look. They've got pieces to work with now. They've got some versatility. They've got some depth actually as well. It'll be an exciting season for them. I think they can squeeze into that playoff race and maybe get. Depends how things go, man. But they can definitely hit the bottom half of the Eastern Conference now. Bradley Beal can play meaningful basketball now and not just put up 30 points a night and still lose, and not put up kind of like people would love to say empty numbers, but They're an exciting team to watch. They're going to be a very exciting team to watch. I love to see how the coach figures them all out. But they've got a lot of versatility, a lot of depth. It'll be interesting to see what they do this year.
Now, take us away. Last but not least,
I think Chicago arguably had the best offseason in the Eastern Conference. When you really compare
splash-wise,
what their team was beforehand and what the team is after now, they obviously, I'm a bit biased because they got one of my favorite players in the league.
For free, in my opinion.
Which one?
Lonzo Ball.
I think Lonzo Ball is free at $85 million. I think that's a great deal for him. I think that's a beautiful deal. I don't think it's free. I'm not saying it's a steal. I don't think it's a steal. 5-year, $85 million deal. 4-year, $85 million deal. They pick up Lonzo Ball from the New Orleans Pelicans, who let him walk
because they didn't want to give him 80.
Stupid move by the Pelicans to let him walk. I think they did.
I can't wait to go through who they got in exchange for him.
I'll stay in Chicago.
But they pretty much didn't want to give him 80. Said he wouldn't get it.
Idiots.
It's not your price.
Lonzo's got a much improved jump shot. Is a great defender. Is a great playmaker. Imagine him running up the court with. At the time, it was just Zach LaVine having that combination, and then now you signed DeMar DeRozan, who's a bucket. That starting lineup of Lonzo, LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and then Vucevic at the 5. It's a very interesting combination. Vucevic kind of anchors that team downward a little bit. I think he doesn't really fit that run and gun athletic style that it looks like they're kind of trending towards. But they're, like we said before, it's better to have pieces than not to have pieces and have a coach to figure it out. They also pick up Alex Caruso from the Los Angeles Lakers, who is an impact guy who can knock down threes, who can play 3-and-D, who's athletic, who can also run and gun with these guys. So they look really, really exciting. They can maybe make some heads turn. And at the end of the day, if a team just wants to sell tickets, I think they're going to do a great job selling tickets with these stars that they got on their team.
That's what it comes down to. Garpax, so I don't know, Garson, I think his name is Garrison something, and Paxson. There was the two. There was Garpax were the two GM president whatever for years and years and years, and people in Chicago hated them. They wanted them out. You don't trade anybody. You just draft. You get picks. Blah 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 blah. So now we're in a time where Chicago's trying to win games, but also sell tickets, right? Like you said. Here's my thing with this whole thing, right? These guys gave up all their first round picks till 2029. Okay, they're not allowed by the league. They're not permitted to trade a first because the only first they have is 2029, and it's too far out to trade it. So these guys are out firsts. Yeah. And who did they get in exchange for their first round picks? Vucevic and DeRozan.
Older guys who don't play a lick of defense. Yeah. DeRozan can get better, but Vucevic is an awful defender. And do they? DeRozan probably, but does Vuce really fit with Lonzo and Zach LaVine? It'll be tough. We saw last year that the Zach Vucevic wasn't the greatest fit.
No.
Who knows? Maybe they trade him away. Maybe they package some of these guys in a deal. Who knows what's going to happen for them? But on paper right now, they're exciting.
Yeah.
They got some scorers. They got some buckets. Lonzo gives them defensive versatility, which I love.
I think the possibilities of Zach and Zoe.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, I didn't make this up. Twitter made this up. But their big three nickname is the Balzac. DeMar, Lonzo Ball, and Zach LaVine. The Balzac.
The Balzac.
I didn't make it up. But I think they're copying that coffee company.
Balzacs? Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Balzac. I thought Zach and Zoe was better. I came up with that one prior to them signing DeMar. But just the possibilities, the athletic possibilities of Zach and Zoe, and even DeMar. Because DeMar's an athlete.
Athletic, man. He doesn't want to be, but he's athletic. Yeah. As much as I love these acquisitions for Chicago in terms of excitement, I don't really love the decision for DeMar. I wish he would have went.
He got less than Kyle, bro.
He got less than Kyle, and I don't think the market for him was that high in general, and that's why I think he settled for Chicago. I was excited to see him maybe go to the Lakers, go to a real contending team, but at the end of the day, you know,
3-point shots necessary, bro.
And he took the money. He took the money. I think this was the biggest bag that was given to him, and he took it.
Which is kind of sad because 3 years, 85. Like this guy, we gave him like 120, whatever, and remember we all said we thought it was a little much. Nobody's giving him that, and lo and behold, he hits free agency. 3 years,
exactly,
85 mil. Another thing I want to point out is another very confusing thing about Chicago is you're bringing Lonzo Ball, you have Zach LaVine, you sign Alex Caruso,
yes,
and you drafted Kobe White last year. Why?
Yeah.
Let the man just let him
play.
go.
Trade him. They're gonna trade him away. They have to
give him away, bro.
They have
because
to
at the end of the day, I think Caruso is a great pickup because he brings in that defensive intensity that Zach doesn't have.
Yeah,
and Lonzo can defend pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
DeMar's not a great defender. Zach isn't. I mean, Levine or Vooch is an awful defender. I think Pat Williams is their young guy at 4. He really needs to come through this year, but they took him number 4 overall last year. Why? Nobody really understood.
Yeah.
They have a very interesting team, but their coach has a lot on their plate because you got a lot of the same guys, and also at the same time a lot of very different guys too. So it's gonna be a handful, I think.
It looks like they just want to sell tickets right now, and that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna be exciting to watch on paper. They look very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I wish Lonzo Ball nothing but the best. I love Lonzo Ball. I hope he has a great season, man. I want him to go back to New Orleans and just muck.
Yeah,
and just destroy.
I honestly, you know what? I want Jello to sign a deal with the the Hornets.
I would love that, man.
He got him 5 threes in the first game. I don't think he will, because I think he's not NBA, bro. Like he just does one thing.
Duncan does one thing.
I'm a hater. I hope he makes it.
Yeah.
One last thing before we go. Shout out to the U.S. of A.
We doubted
women
them.
And men's.
The men's only that we doubted.
But the women's got gold as well. Men got gold. Women 7 straight. Men 7 of 8. One thing I don't like, Draymond Green, shut up. People hated on you because you lost. You should not ever lose a game when you have this many NBA players, NBA stars versus. And then the fact that they're going on Twitter and pulling up receipts like. This is exactly why people don't like you, and people generally don't like Americans is because they think it's all about them and whatever. But shout out to the women's team because they're nice.
They dominated.
Even though, another cocky thing. What's her name? Is it Sue Bird?
Yeah.
Was it Sue Bird that was hugging? No, Taurasi. Diana Taurasi. The girl's guarding her in the finals.
She's like this,
and she has the ball up and she's hugging her with. It's the gold medal game, bro. Respect the game, fam.
5-time gold medalist, though.
F that, bro.
5 times.
F that, bro.
5.
That's whack.
5.
That was dirty.
When everybody's done that, though, Diane, don't get it confused. Diana Taurasi is one of the goats in female basketball. So,
she is the goat.
There's plenty that you throw around. Sue Bird,
Cheryl Miller.
You got Lisa Leslie as well. There's a whole bunch of them that are there's a whole bunch of them considered to be the greatest, and she's up there on the greatest female basketball player to ever live. So. I tend to be okay with it when you've got the resume and you've got the game to back it up. If it was a random player to do that, then for sure. Like if you bring in a guy like Jeremy Grant doing something like that, I'd be like, that's a bit questionable.
KD after the game saying, "You guys really thought the skill level was close?"
I mean,
but you won by 5.
That game was close. That game was close,
and you lost to France. But anyways, Australia also had their number. But whatever. Shout out to the French team, but shout out to the Boomers.
The Boomers. They were my pick, man.
First gold medal, bro. I had
first
Slovenia,
medal,
but whatever.
First medal. Yeah. They took bronze. I think first medal. I don't know if it was. I saw something about I saw something saying this was a 15-year project.
So that's what I thought too. I don't know if the team started 15 years ago.
I feel like they started getting good 15 years ago, and they're gonna keep getting better. They've got a lot of talent on that team. Shout out to them. Doncic, unfortunately, unable to carry. He's pretty much single-handedly carrying that Slovenian team.
And there were one Nick Batum block with 2 seconds left away from a goal from the gold game. Yeah,
from the finals,
from a guaranteed medal. So they're right there. I think Luka with some more support too. I don't know. He can't really do anything when you're international. It's just who you have,
and he's gonna get better too.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we're excited to come at you guys with Western Conference. There's a lot more to talk about. Mm-hmm. A lot of things we couldn't really discuss today, and we already came with an hour, so that's good call on us to do the 2-parter. We'll come at you guys next episode. You know where to find us: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll come at you guys with part 2 next week.